Hi, everyone. Dr. Frankie here, and happy to be with you all as usual. It's really exciting, a moment I want to share with you. It's been a tough 2.5 weeks because my daughter, who is a young adult, I've got twins, um, and she has had a lot of anxiety and panic attacks through the years and kind of some social phobia and just lots of fears, right? There's a lot out there to be fearful of these days in the way that like social media kind of reminds us of all the things to be afraid of and just a lot of overstimulation and exposure. And so it's a lot of fear-based stuff. Anyway, she overcame her fear and traveled by herself solo for 2.5 weeks. And several times she had overwhelming anxiety and was able to use her resources and her tools, reaching out to friends that she let them know beforehand and family like myself that she might be reaching out. And she was able to make it 2.5 weeks all on her own. I don't know that I would go to Europe or overseas to another country by myself, even at my age. So kudos to my kiddo who overcame anxiety. But I wanted to bring it up today, one, because I'm feeling really proud and excited for her and all that she's going to experience on the other side of overcoming her fear and this great big obstacle for her that her mind kind of set herself up into thinking that it would be, it's too scary, too terrifying, all the bad things that could happen to me. And she just faced fear right in the face and went for it anyway, which is something I talk about all the time. And the only way to overcome anxiety is to get habituated, and that's through exposure. So I can't wait to see what she's going to come home, like her perspective and how it's going to shift and what next adventure she's going to go on. So I wanted to share it here with you all because many of us have fears that get in our way of saying yes. And so we say no more often than yes. So I want to put that bug in your ear and encourage you the next time something comes up where you have an invitation or an opportunity or a curiosity about doing something and then fear creeps in, to maybe stare it right in the face and go, you know what? I'm going to actually overcome some of this and take the risk and do everything I can possible to um, fill my backpack of tools and skills that I can utilize along the way to help support me, kind of scaffold me through the process. And yeah, I know you'll be better for it. So just do it. All right, let's jump into today's topic, which is, are sugar baby relationships just sex work with benefits? Sex work is sometimes called the oldest profession. If that's true, what does that make sugaring? Especially as the economy grows less certain by the day, some people are taking a closer look at the sugar baby lifestyle, which involves dating older, wealthier people with the aim of receiving financial support or gifts from them. Is that any different from sex work? Some wonder. As a sex and relationship expert, here's what I think is important to know about sugaring and how it's different and not from sex work. What's a sugar baby anyway? A sugar baby is a person, usually a younger person, who's in a dynamic with an older, usually wealthier person in which the younger person received gifts, money, special privileges, or expensive gestures like travel in exchange for companionship, romantic attraction, or sexual contact. The older person, often called a sugar mommy or sugar daddy, depending on their gender, may or may not be fully cognizant of the transactional nature of the relationship. A sugar baby might meet a sponsor on a platform dedicated to helping people connect in this transactional way, like seekingarrangements.com, or they might meet organically in some kind of social space, often where there is an existing power dynamic like a job or an internship. Gifts or money exchanged can range broadly in magnitude and approach. A sugar daddy might just pay for a nice dinner out once or twice a month, or take their date on a shopping trip. Or they might go as far as making cash payments regularly or giving their sugar baby their own debit card. The amount of gifts or money exchanged might be minimal, like small tokens and splurges with occasional big expenditures like trips, or they could fully bankroll their sugar baby's life, including paying their rent and bills. How is that different than sex work? Sex work is generally defined as the exchange of some form of sexual contact or erotic labor. whether that's sexual video, photo content, erotic dance, sexting, fetish work, full service sex work, including penetrative sex, or something else, in exchange for money or material goods. This sounds a lot like the definition of being a sugar baby or sugaring, the exchange of companionship, romance, or sex for gifts or money. That's not a coincidence. The boundaries between sugaring and what is traditionally considered sex work are blurry at best. In practice, there's a lot of overlap between these states in many people's lives. A stripper might meet a wealthy client at her job at the club and end up in a sugar relationship with him outside of the club. Or a full sex service worker might find an arrangement with a wealthy client who they end up seeing somewhat exclusively. It's also worth noting that the boundaries between what is traditionally considered sex work and just regular romantic relationships, especially heterosexual ones, aren't always very clear. Before women in the US were able to have their own jobs and bank accounts, all romantic relationships and marriages were essentially an exchange of sexual and romantic contact for financial security. In many social contexts in the US, this is still the case, either because one partner is discouraged from working outside the home or because the disparity in access to resources between partners is so extreme. Some sugar babies identify as sex workers, while others vehemently insist that that's not what they're doing, that it's different. Some sugar babies are insistent that they don't offer full sexual contact in exchange for money, just their companionship, and that this differentiates them from sex workers, especially full-service sex workers. This is in part linked on the public perception and connotations of sugaring versus sex work, and namely, the latter being more stigmatized than the former. Is sugaring illegal? Another significant difference, at least in terms of broad cultural perception, between sugaring and sex work is that traditionally, especially street-based sex work, is much more heavily criminalized than sugaring. Because of a few factors. The promise of direct sexual contact is often downplayed in sugaring. There are fewer public exchanges online or in person where law enforcement can observe and crack down on sugaring as compared to street-based sex work. And the people involved in sugaring may be of higher socioeconomic class and less likely to be criminalized. Sugaring is less likely to be prosecuted in the criminal legal system as well. That doesn't mean there are no logistical or legal hurdles, especially as it relates to money. Depending on the nature of the sugar relationship, there may be complications related to putting your name on a shared bank account, being able to book travel or rental hotel rooms, or even being included in someone's will. Can a sugar baby relationship be a genuine romantic connection? As I just outlined, there's often a less clear delineation between sugaring and sex work than people would like to imagine, and also a less clear delineation between sugaring and real relationships that some would prefer. What is the difference, really, between a sugar daddy and a wealthy, real boyfriend who gives you gifts and an allowance? Often, sugar babies might have separate, real romantic relationships outside of sugaring and maintain their sugar relationships as a form of labor and income, as other sex workers do. However, familiarity and time spent together are powerful drivers of human connection. It's completely normal to feel frustrated, bored, or resentful of a sugar daddy or mommy, much as you might with customers at a service industry job. Sex work is a service industry, but it's also not uncommon to form some degree of emotional attachment or fondness for a sugar daddy. In some cases, sugar babies may marry or become otherwise legally enmeshed as part of their sugar relationship, further blurring the boundaries between a financial transaction and a real relationship. Any thoughts, reactions, comments? I want to hear from you all. Hope you got something from my talk today. If you think somebody would benefit from what I've shared here, please share it. Please subscribe below. Thank you to all of my subscribers. We keep growing, which means I get in front of more and more people that want to learn about themselves, want to better understand human behavior, sexuality, sensuality, connection, all the things that matter in life. That's what matters, is human connection. We need to be working on all of this on a daily basis. Educate ourselves, kind of destigmatize things. Like, part of what I do is like talk about hard things that people are actually curious about, or maybe they've never even heard about something. Now that they can put language to it, like a sugar baby, like sugaring. For many people, this is the first time they're hearing about it. So thanks for showing up today, and I'll see y'all next week. Kisses, hugs, tons of gratitude for you all. See you then.